Hey everybody, welcome back. Välkommen tillbaka. Tack för sist. Thanks for being here. Obviously, back in a hotel room again. The lighting in this hotel is not very good, and I do not understand why hotels paint this hideous, like yellow color. I do not get it. It's depressing. Lighter color. Well, I get why they're doing it. They can hide more that way. But the hotel I've been staying at, for some reason, Jack, the price is way up, so I'm hoping to head back there next week. But this is fine. It's clean. Anyway, I thought I would do another kind of throwback, nostalgic look back kind of. So I've mentioned before how my kids, the people I know that, a lot of my friends have young adult kids, and dating it seems like it's so much harder than when I was young, when we were young, if you're my age, or, just older than kids. Back in the day, we had, I would call a girl several times and hang up. Not to be rude, not to be a jerk. I was so shy and scared. Shy is not the right word. I was so scared of being told no. Calling to ask them out, and they're like, nah, not interested, which just didn't happen. It actually happened after my Mormon mission, when I didn't care as much anymore because I'd been rejected so many times there. I remember a girl just flat out told me no after we'd hung out at a party. We'd had a great time. She was all snuggled up with me the whole night, and then when I called her the next day, she acted like she didn't know who I was and just said no. All right. Anyway, back then, there was no caller ID. There was no way to see who was calling. So, and if you're young, you've probably seen the phones and heard about it. I remember so clearly when I got my own phone in my bedroom. Now, it was still the same phone number as the rest of the house. It was just a jack in my bedroom, and I got this really cool new tech phone with one of those really long pigtail cords, so I could walk around my whole room with it, and it was flat and had the push buttons. It wasn't the ring where you had to dial it anymore. It was push button and made the tone. I thought it was so cool. Of course, back then you could also pick up a phone in another part of the house, and if you were sneaky about it, maybe even get away on listening to somebody's conversation. So yeah, it was a very different way of dating. But specifically today, I was thinking about, I don't know why this popped in my head, cool memories from way back in the day. Once in a while, just jump into your head, and you get nostalgic about it, and you think, what a cool thing. And the thing that jumped in my head today, speaking of dating, back in the day, was my first real kiss. Now, we had played games like if we had a substitute teacher in junior high, we had this one that we got a lot, and I'm sure she was a nice lady, but she was so dopey, and she just believed everything we told her. And we would say, we study for a half hour, and then the teacher lets us go in the back corner and just play spin the bottle, which we would do. And so, you do truth or dare and different things. So, I kissed several girls in those games and at boy-girl parties. I remember my very first boy-girl party. I want to say I was 12 or 13. In fact, the girl that had the party, I see her online now. I should reach out to her. She old high school friend. We were never really close, but nice person. But it was so much fun. Anyway, so I had kissed girls, but not like a real kiss. So back then, my main way of meeting girls, because nobody seemed to date the girls that were in your own school. In fact, when I got old enough to drive, we dated girls from all around the area in all these little towns. If you're familiar with southern Alberta, there's like Taber, Raymond, McGrath, Cardston. Lethbridge is kind of the big city for the area, but there's all these little towns, and we would always date the girls from these other towns, never from our own. So my first kind of girlfriend And I use that term pretty loosely because we would meet at the Mormon church dances that were, I can't remember if they were twice a month or what. I think they were twice a month. And it would, so these dances would involve a couple of stakes. And if you're not familiar with what a stake is, you have congregations, Mormon congregations, and several of those make up a stake. So it was probably just the Tabor stake, which was, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 different congregations. And this girl lived about an hour north of us in a little tiny town. And we started, we met at one of these dances and we danced a lot and really got along well. And, after a couple dances, we would walk around holding hands. And I think I was 14 at the time. And I remember the tingles. Have you ever seen the Brady Bunch? I think it was Peter, but it might have been Bobby. I think it was Peter. He kisses this girl, and I wish I could remember the girl's name, because this image, I remember seeing that and thinking that's exactly what it's like. Like rockets went off in his head, and he saw stars, and just when he kissed this girl, it was just amazing. I had those kinds of tingles and, fireworks in my head just holding her hand, just dancing with her, like slow dances especially. And they would almost always save the last dance would be Stairway to Heaven, which is 7.5 minutes long. So a 14-year-old boy's dream to dance with the cute girl for 7.5 minutes on a slow dance. It does pick up in the middle a bit, but he's still slow dance. So we started hanging out, and I think I even called her a few times, and we talked on the phone. And we met at these dances several times, quite a few times, to where I felt like, I don't know, I never asked her about this, if she thought she was my girlfriend, or I was her boyfriend. We never talked about it, but that's kind of how it felt for a pretty young kid. At 14, I was still pretty naive, but not really. I know that's a contradiction, but so I grew up Mormon in a very strict Mormon house. And when I say strict, I don't mean like my parents were, dictators, nothing like that. They were just very into the church, and they wanted us to live the church. So like Sundays, we could only watch one program after church in the evening, and that was The Wonderful World of Disney. I think that's what they called it back then. And that's it. And they kind of frowned on us. We would go, my brothers and I would go out and throw the football around. I don't think my dad loved that, but he let us do it. And so that's kind of the background. Is I come from this pretty, strict Mormon upbringing, but at the same time, my buddies and I, especially with my best friend growing up, we got in a lot of trouble. We did a lot of things we shouldn't have done. Nothing horrible, but we got in trouble quite a bit. So I had this combination of naive and also a little bit worldly, but not when it came to girls. So this girl, when I finally got brave, it's one thing you're dancing, and I think we danced like this back then. I don't think this had started yet, but it progressed to that, when we were like 15, 16. I think if we tried to dance like this, and the girl put her arms around your shoulders, the chaperones would come and kind of, you're too close together kind of thing. Weird things are going to go through your head if you're that close to this girl. So yeah, we got together quite a few dances, and we would hold hands, but I never really had the opportunity to kiss her, because her dad would drive her and her sister down from this town up north. It was an hour. They weren't old enough to drive, so he would just hang around, or I don't know, go get a Coke or whatever. I never really saw him. So I knew after the dance, her dad was going to be waiting for her, and how am I going to make my move with her dad there? And we're 14. So after one of these dances, I remember this so clearly. there was a last dance, but they kind of played some music after the last song, and it was kind of slow music. So some of the people kind of stayed on the floor. Well, I took her hand and I started leading her out. This is pretty funny, actually. So we walk outside holding hands, and kind of around the corner of the church. The dances were at the church. All the Mormon churches have like basketball court gymnasiums inside them, and that's where the dances would be. You know, they clear out the floor, and that's where you'd have the dance. And they were actually a lot of fun. I know I'm doing an aside again, but my mom would always give me 25 cents, a quarter, before I walked over to the dance. And my best friend was not into going, and I loved it. So I would meet other friends there, but he never wanted to go. So I would just walk to this little grocery store thing that was called Farmer's Market in downtown. Our town was pretty little. And it wasn't that far from the church, either of the churches where we had dances. And I would get 25 cents worth of candy corn, it was quite a bit of candy corn for a quarter. You can't buy anything for a quarter anymore. So I would have a pocket full of that. Back to the dance. The last dance is over. I'm holding her hand. We're walking outside. Her dad had parked kind of around the corner. Like the front of the church is very lit up. Lots of big lights. And the parking lot there were lots of big lights. But where he had parked was kind of around the corner on the side of the church. Excuse me. And he wasn't there. I made sure. I had seen him, like one of the first times I saw him, over talking to like another parent. The parents usually didn't hang around. There were a couple of chaperones there, but it wasn't like there were a whole bunch of parents there watching us. But I saw him talking to somebody else, and I was like, this is my chance. If I'm going to do it, it's got to be now. So we walk around the corner, and it's actually fairly dark on that side, like not dark, but way darker than the front of the church. And we're holding hands, and I can remember this so clearly. I wish somebody could bottle this feeling. And by the way, I had this feeling the first time I kissed my wife too. Still do. She's awesome. But we kind of went over to the truck, and we didn't say much, but we turned and kind of faced each other, and we were holding both hands now. And I was so nervous and so shy. I was like, what if she doesn't like me? I mean, at this point we had hung out quite a few times. We always danced with each other. But at that point we weren't dancing with other people anymore. It was just, we danced the whole night. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. I have to try. And I leaned in, and she leaned right back in, and it wasn't like a super long kiss. It wasn't like some, crazy thing. Like I said, I was 14. I was pretty inexperienced. So it was kind of like a Captain Kirk kiss, if you remember watching the early Star Trek TV shows. It was but it lasted several seconds, and my head was exploding with endorphins and just all these chemicals just blowing my body up. My whole body tingled. I felt like Bobby Brady, just like, this is the best thing in the world. This is why we live, for this moment right here. Of course, you find out later on in life, there's some pretty cool moments that are coming. But we didn't last a whole lot longer after that. It's funny because it was very mutual, the kiss. And I couldn't ask for a better first kiss. It was just so good. She was super cute and just a sweetheart girl. And we saw each other at a couple more dances, but I don't know what happened. It started to fizzle out. And then several dances later, I saw her dancing with another dude. It was obviously over. Nothing was ever said. I was pretty hurt, pretty pissed. But she gave me that moment, which I'll never forget. I mean, I'm sure you all have your own stories about this. And, but going back to kind of the original theme of dating back then, that's how we met people. We met people in person, and y'all watching this, probably most of you know this. If you're younger, I know it's tougher. Both my boys, they're 31 and 25. You know, they're, in my opinion, they're really good-looking dudes, and they date, but it's a different experience. My oldest son is divorced. He has 2 daughters, and you know, they don't really tell me a whole lot, but there's enough information coming from them that I know it's way harder than what it was like for us in the 70s and 80s. And you know, I know some of you watching are older than that too, and you know, for you it's maybe the 50s and the 60s. But yeah, we would cruise. When we got old enough, we'd meet girls at bars or restaurants, or you know, pizza places. We'd go cruise, and then we'd go to some pizza place, and there'd be cute girls there, and you know, you got to the point where you just weren't scared to talk to them. And I mean, every girlfriend I ever had, it was an in-person thing. Obviously, we didn't have the internet, Wi-Fi, social media. Now, I obviously dig social media. I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, just not a lot anymore, and Instagram a little bit, but I'm going to start using Instagram a lot more for my painting business. In fact, I just designed a logo using AI. I'm trying to get my wife to okay it because it has our picture in it. It's so cool. If I get the okay, I'll show y'all. But she's very shy about being on video, so I don't know if she's going to go for that. But you know, speaking of dating, I was divorced. She was divorced, and one of my best friends was married to her sister, and they set us up. So we met at my apartment. But I know it's not like that anymore. I've heard from a lot of people that are like, all these dating sites, a lot of them suck. What I was saying, social media, I have a love-hate relationship with it, because I know I work really hard to not just sit and scroll on my phone. I do watch a lot of YouTube videos, but I try to watch stuff that's got at least some educational stuff and entertainment. I follow a lot of people on YouTube. I like Mr. Ball and Magnus Mitbö, if you know him. Girl Outdoor, Jan Nygren, she's from Sweden. She's got a huge following. There's a whole bunch I follow. But I also watch how-to videos a lot on YouTube. So I don't feel like I'm really wasting my time. I don't do a lot of scrolling, like Facebook, TikTok, even though I do quite a bit of TikTok videos, and I have a pretty decent following on TikTok. I don't scroll a lot. I'll go to some of the people that follow me and watch some of their videos. But I purposely try not to just, like, whatever. You're sitting like the other day, I was sitting in the doctor's office waiting to have some blood tests done. And it's usually only 10, 12 minutes. And everybody in the waiting room, every single person, and they range from like a 13-year-old to probably an 85-year-old. Every single person was on their phone scrolling. Not judging, not criticizing. I just thought, because my first thought was to reach into my phone and pull it out. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to. I didn't used to do this. I used to pick up a magazine and read it. In fact, my favorite magazine ever, I tried to reorder it. The physical, I love having something in my hand to read, like an actual book or magazine. But it's just digital now. And I was so bummed. So I sat there for the whole 12 minutes, and I did not take my phone out. I didn't scroll. I just sat there with my thoughts. What kind of ideas can I come up with for YouTube? What can I do on TikTok? What can I do with my painting business to get myself back here? Now, I know social media is a big part of dating now, not just for young people, divorced people, older people, single older people. I hope I don't ever have to be in that world again. I hope my wife puts up with me forever, and I just have no interest in being out in that again. But Yeah, I would love to, especially if you're younger. I would love to hear some of your comments, experiences, what it's like out there. Like I said, I know for my son, youngest daughter, my oldest daughter's been married for 15 years, but my youngest daughter has had a couple of pretty serious boyfriends in a row, so she hasn't really been dating a lot. But my boys kind of are out there, and like I said, they don't tell me a whole lot, but they have hinted that it's not very easy to meet people. People ghost people all the time, which I never understood. But yeah. Anyway, the main point was kind of that first kiss thing. It's just one of those milestones in your life that you never forget. So if you got some cool story about that, hey, I'll read it. Even if you leave me, I've had several comments that are long, like many paragraphs. I read them. I read them all. The only ones I don't respond to are the nasty ones. I still read them, but I rarely respond to that. Whatever floats your boat. You want to leave me a nasty comment? That's up to you. I can't stop you, and I'm not mad. I just respond to not just the positive ones. There are some that are kind of critical, but in a good way. Like, it's not like being nasty. It's like, what do you think about blah blah blah? So anyway, I should probably get to bed. I got to get up early. I got to get a lot of hours in the next week and a half, because I have to be home by the 27th. My parents are coming down from Canada. My 84-year-old parents are driving down. Can't get them to fly. I've got a niece that's getting married, so I only have like 11 days, 10 days, something like that, to try to finish this thing, and that's right on the cusp of what I need to finish. So thanks for watching again. Tack för denna gång, men snackas igen snart. By the way, I've mentioned this before. If you have ideas of stuff, if you watch several of my videos, I think you got kind of a gist for what I like, what I talk about, what my interests are. And I know my videos are in all different places, and that's by design. They're unscripted. I'm sure you can tell they're unscripted. I don't have any interest. By the way, I brought my Norwegian World War II story with me. I've been reading it. I think I'm really close to knowing it well enough that I can tell it. But I want it to be me telling it, not reading it. I no offense to anybody that uses scripts. It's just not my thing. I like just talking off the cuff. So thanks for this time, everybody. I hope you all have a beautiful week. What is it? It's Thursday. Hey, tomorrow's Friday. Woohoo. Have a great day, everybody. Peace. Love.